and that is the former First Lady of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Roxane Gilmore.
This is the hardest speech I've ever given in this hall. Oh, Joe wouldn't want you to use a mic. Forsan et haec olam meminisse uabit. A joy it will be one day, perhaps, to remember even this. Those are the words that Aeneas said to his shipwrecked followers, bedraggled, water-weary, as they were shipwrecked on the shores outside of Dido's palace in Carthage. And it was an admonition to them that even though the day was rough and weary, as many of the reflections are that we're having today over having lost one of our great friends, that even one day it will be a pleasure to remember this day. And I think that that's a large part of what this service is all about today. For us to come together and to share our memories of a great friend, a mentor, an icon of this university. I was one of the first women members of the Jefferson Society. It was a time that we don't think about it anymore, as I think there have been women chairmen, and many illustrious women have gone through those doors and been active participants. But that was a new age, and it was an age when Joe Bishop stepped forward and welcomed women into this society. He was my mentor then. He advised me about how to give a probationary speech. He said, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And he said that was the best way to get into the hall. And my speech was nominated for Best of the Semester, in large part of Joe's direction and guidance. I know that he was a mentor to many of you as well, coming into the hall and being here all those many years, and he is a face that you all remember. A university is an interesting place because it has icons in its community that we all think about. And when the university was a smaller place as it was when I first arrived here, I think it may have been even more true than it is perhaps today. But there were those in the faculty that everybody rushed to take their classes, Elsinger and Weiss in the psychology department. There were members of the community that came onto the campus, and I remember Jack Manahan and Anastasia, who would come often to this hall and to many of the events as lectures were given and speeches were given. And then there were members of the student body who were also icons, and Joe Bishop is truly one of those. You know, they say people go on living for you until someone tells you that they're gone. I'm sorry that somebody had to tell me that Joe was gone, but I think as we're all here today, he will live on for us, and we'll share these stories, and he will always be alive in this hall and at this university. Forsan et haec olam meminisse uabit.
Thank you, Mrs. Gilmore. We're honored to have as our final speaker the former Governor of Virginia, the Honorable James Gilmore. Mr. Gilmore.
Well, thank you, Chairman Drake and Chairman Weber. We appreciate both of you being here today to remember Joe. It's really just fitting that the chairman of the Republican Party for this community would come in today and spend some time. I see many old friends who are here in this room that I've spent a great deal of time with in this hall over many, many, many years. And I am so delighted to be here in front of you all, although I'm very saddened that it's a time when we're bidding farewell to our good friend Joe Bishop. I think that the reason we're all here is because he was so intertwined with our lives, and certainly he was intertwined with mine, with Roxane. I joined the society way back in the late 60s, you can imagine, and carried through until the early 70s when Joe showed up in the early 70s and became a close friend of mine and so many of our other friends who are here today. You remember how he used to rock? Of course we remember that because what else would Joe be doing? He would always talk with you about and be with you and would always be there. I think we'll probably always remember that little rock. And we'll probably never forget that as long as we live. Roxane and I actually met right there in those two chairs back here in the Jefferson Society. And our first date, we went door to door for J. Kenneth Robinson of the Republican Party. Joe was always there, you see. He was always part of this institution, the Jefferson Society, and the institution of the Republican Party, and particularly of this community. Joe was always there. He was always a part of everything that we had always seen. Through all the offices I ran for in college Republicans, young Republicans, Joe was always there. He was always a part of everything. When I went away to the service and came back to the law school, I came back to this hall, to the society, and Joe was there. And always a sense of greatness and stability. So that's the first thing that I want to say about Joe. Joe always seemed to be a rock of stability for all of us. Things change. We are at a place here at the University of Virginia that by its very nature, everything changes all the time. People come and go, mostly come, and then they all go. You take your degree here, you go on out into the world, you do things, but no matter what, Joe was always here, and a part of this homecoming place that we would all come to and spend time with. The Republican Party changes in this community all the time. You may remember during the times when I was here, there were people like Darden Tao, people like Tom Albro, people like Bobby Mincer, all part of all this over the years. There have been others going down through the years, and it constantly changes, and it always rotates around. People come and people go. But Joe was always here. So it's the rock of stability that I think that we will all miss, and that's why it was such a shock to me when I heard that he had passed away, because I knew that when I returned to Charlottesville, I came back to the Jefferson Society, I participated in the Republican Party Fair, I came back to the university, that Joe would not be here now. And I also think that Joe should be remembered, secondly, for his loyalty to his friends. He was always there to talk to his friends and to be there with his friends. He never forgot his friends, no matter who they were and how they passed through his life and we through his. He was always there for his friends. So I think that the thing that we should remember about Joe is the faithfulness and the stability in a changing world. We live in a changing world. It changes every day. Every day we pick up the paper. Every day we pick up the paper. Every day we turn on the television, we see things changing and rotating constantly. And now, in a way, we're sort of tossed into that stream without that sense of stability that we might have had from the continuing life of Joe Bishop here in these great institutions. These institutions remain. Joe was part of these institutions. And I know that neither the Jefferson Society, the Republican Party, nor any of his friends who are here or far beyond the four walls of this hall today will ever forget.